In this video, I'll be teaching you how to ride a motorcycle and also be teaching a friend who's never been on a bike before how to ride so that you can see what a novice looks like riding a bike and learn that way as well. With that in mind, let's jump right into the video. So first things first, we want to familiarize ourselves with the bike that we're riding. This means looking over where all the buttons are, what each lever does, and all of that. So first off, we'll start over at the right. This grip rotates and is our throttle. And then up here, this lever is one of the brakes. Right here on this bike, I don't know how well you can see it, is the ignition. This is like you're turning on the key to start the bike. This is the kill switch. This means that the bike is running, and this shuts the bike off. And usually it's on this side. Usually it's a red switch or dial or lever. But by hitting this button, we automatically kill the engine in the bike. Now, moving on a little bit more, we have our gas tank right here, our display with the readout of everything, the tachometer, the speed, the lights, the gear that we're in, all of that is over here. And now on this side, we have the lights, headlights, and turn signals. You go right to turn right, left to turn left, and off by pressing in or bringing it back to center on some bikes. And then the horn, this is the clutch. And when the clutch is out like this, it means that we're in gear. The bike is operating in whatever gear we have selected. But when the clutch is in, it means the bike is not getting any power and it's able to be shifted, moved, and maneuvered around. And finally, down here we have the rear view mirror. Some bikes will have it on both sides. On this one, we only have this because it's aftermarket. Now, moving down on the bike, this is where we'll be putting our feet, our heel on the bike. And this is what we use to shift. By pressing this pedal down, we are downshifting, and by kicking it up, we are upshifting. This is what it looks like when you're on the bike. And finally, now moving on over to this side of the bike, we have the foot peg and the brake. We have the second brake right here. Now, this front brake does a majority of the braking, but this rear down here is also very useful. You'll want to use both brakes in tandem. Now, looking at the bike again from the front, the easiest way to remember this is that this is the stop side and this is the go side. We have the clutch and the shifter right here, and the rear brake and the front brake right here. So now that we've familiarized ourselves with the bike that we'll be riding, we want to get on. Now we get on the side with the kickstand down, and we go over saddling the bike like this. Now the left, where the kickstand is on most bikes, is where we'll want to bias our weight. When we're getting on and when we're dismounting, we want to get on this side, because if we did this, oh, the bike could tip, especially if we're not comfortable and familiar with the bike. So mount on the side with the kickstand and just get a feel for how the bike is between your legs, and make sure you're comfortable moving it and maneuvering. Make sure you feel steady on the bike and get a feel for how it would be to ride it. Test out the levers, feel the pressure in your hand, what it feels like to squeeze the clutch or the brake, or what it feels like to shift in and out of gears while you still have the safety of the kickstand. Now that you're fully familiar with the bike that you'll be riding and ready to give it a go, we're going to kick the kickstand back, turn on the ignition to start, make sure the kill switch is set to run, make sure that we're in neutral. I'll flash what that looks like on the screen here. pull in the clutch, and hit start. Now that the bike's running, we want to get a feel of how much it revs the bike's engine when we twist the throttle. If you gave it what you thought was just a little bit of gas, but it really revved easily, then you could be in for some trouble. So make sure to give it some revs in neutral, where you feel safe and where you're comfortable, so that you can get a feel for at what rate the bike revs up and revs out. Now that we have this down, let's hop back on the helmet cam and see the bike first person. So again, we want to make sure that the bike is keyed on. We have the clutch in, the bike is in neutral right here on the indicator, that the kill switch is off, and we are ready to give it a start. So you can see where the bike is, how easily it revs. And now is the time for our first ride. We'll kick it down into gear, which puts us in first, and slowly let off the clutch with our feet on the ground. So kick it down into first, and take off by slowly releasing the clutch while keeping your legs down. And just walk with the bike the slightest bit, so that you know what it feels like to move the bike, and let it run and move you under its own power while still being balanced. I'll show you what it looks like right now. Great, so now that we've done that a few times and we feel comfortable with operating the clutch, throttling it a little bit, and letting the bike move under its own power, it's time to really start moving. And that requires us to lift our feet and our legs when we get going, and we inherently have to do that when we start moving the bikes. So make sure once the bike is finally taken off, in the same way that we started before, that your foot goes on the peg that it should. And once you get moving, once you get momentum, then the bike will balance itself for the most part. If in doubt, pull in the clutch, put your legs out to the side, hit the brake, so that we can stop safely and get everything figured out. I'll show you what it looks like to ride the bike right now. So now that we've gotten more comfortable moving and maneuvering the bike on turns and whatnot, it's time to go into higher gears, which allows us to go higher speeds. Now, of course, you're always going to want to stay at or below the speed limit to abide by laws in your state and area, but for going up to highway speeds, we need to get out of first gear. This is done by, while moving, pulling in the clutch and kicking up the gear that you want to shift into. So you'll start at first and click up to go into second and third and fourth and fifth, all the way up to the highest gear on the bike. And now when you're ready to decelerate, we'll do the exact same thing by kicking down with the clutch in and going all the way down until we're in the gear that we want. A good rule of thumb is to always stay in gear so that you do always have power, rather than kicking down to neutral to stop like you may in a manual transmission car. On a bike, you always want to be in gear so that you can power out of a situation, and so that if you're in sixth and need to drop down into fourth, let's say, you're not going all the way past second to neutral. I'll show the little graphic on the screen here, and then needing to kick back up. Always remember the gear that you're in if there's no indicator on the bike, but I'll show you how to shift and ride a little bit faster right now. Hopefully you like that video and you feel a lot more confident, ready to ride and take on the world with two wheels. Now, really quickly before you go, if you're a beginner rider, this is important, this is critical. 2 lessons. Number 1 is get some good gear and definitely wear it. Don't be a squid. I know that I was teaching you in the parking lot with no helmet on, no jacket on, no gear, but when you're riding around, put your safety first, get a good helmet and some gear that's going to protect you. And secondly, if you're interested in learning how to get your first bike or your next bike for absolutely free at no cost, how you can ride any bike for free or even profitably and get free gear as well, then hit the link down below and check out Motorcycle Money. With that in mind, hopefully you liked the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, drop a comment down below telling me what you thought, and subscribe to the channel. I will see you on the next one.